Hi, everybody. Welcome to Living Free and Fulfilled. I am Katie Bach, your host, and today we have Kim Driscoll with us talking about how to get out of your own way and dream big. So, hello, everybody. We have Kim Driscoll with us today, and she's going to talk to us about dreaming big, getting out of your own way, and dreaming those big dreams. So, Kim is an amazing woman that I have had the pleasure and privilege of knowing for several years now. She has done yoga with me. She actually completed yoga teacher training with me, and she's doing some amazing things out there in the world. She's a certified health and life coach. And I am just so excited to have her here today to talk to you about getting out of your way and dreaming big. Because let's be honest, we are always getting in our own way, and you deserve to dream big, wild dreams. So here is Kim. I'm going to let her say hi and just tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, everyone. Well, first of all, Katie, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. And like you said, doing your yoga teacher training was one of my steps towards dreaming big. I always loved being in class, and I never would have imagined that I would be able to be a yoga teacher, and now I am. So it's one of the most awesome things. But I'm just super excited to be here and talk a little bit about dreaming big, a little bit about my journey and some things that I found along the way to get out of my own way and to be able to learn how to dream big. And it's something that's always a work in progress. So that's very important to remember. It's something that you always need to keep tabs on, and daily action is needed.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. It's always a work in progress, always keeping tabs, and always, like checking in with yourself, right? To make sure you're not getting in your own way.
Yes.
So let's just get right into it. What does it mean to dream big?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's funny because I personally was all excited about dreaming big. And a few months ago, I did a Facebook Live about it because I was like, I'm so excited. I'm motivated. I'm going to dream big. And then I was like, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. What do I do? So when I don't know what to do, I go and research, right? I Google, what does it mean to dream big? How do I dream big? I find books like Dream Big. I have another book that, I just start to research and figure out what that means. And for me, what I found is dreaming big is really about giving yourself just this mental freedom to think about what's your best life? What is it that you want in life? We get so bogged down in all the things we have to do and are doing, and the definition of what success looks like to the normal, right? But if you really stop and think about what is it that I wanted, what makes me happy, what sets my soul on fire, right? Because we don't want to do something that we just feel like we have to do. Most of us, we want to do something that we have passion about, and for everyone that's different, right? It looks a little bit different for everyone, but giving yourself that mental freedom to be able to think about what is it that I love to do and how can I maybe get paid to do that, right? And or it's not just about what your profession is, right? Dreaming big is about how do I want to maybe show up for my kids? How do I want to show up for my spouse? How do I want to spend my vacations? Do I want things or do I want experiences, right? Like for everyone that's different, and it doesn't mean what I want is right and what you want is wrong. It's learning like what is it that I want and not thinking about what everyone else around me is doing. That's kind of like one of the biggest things. And if we think about when we're a kid or you have little kids, they have no problem taking a cardboard box and going on a space adventure, right? But what happens is as we go along our way, and things from our childhood and other experiences, they kind of get in our way and they cloud us down into experiences where we struggled, right? We've had some fear, we haven't been successful, and we kind of say to ourselves, that's scary. I don't love that. I don't like that feeling. But in order to get to the other side of anything, we have to kind of push ourselves past that comfort zone. So what ends up happening is we get these limiting beliefs, right? And the truth of the matter is we don't even really realize that they're happening. They happen these little incremental things along the way. And we tell ourselves these stories. That's really what limiting beliefs are. They're stories that we tell ourselves that are generally not true, right? But we believe them to be true. So we allow them to hold us back, right? So that's kind of what dreaming is, and it's something that you actually have to actively contend for every single day in order to get there, right? Learning how to dream big it's a little scary, right? It's connected to
Absolutely.
fear, it's connected to failure, it's connected to I'm not sure, and being unsure doesn't feel awesome all the time for everybody.
That's true. It's that uncertainty that kind of like tips us over the edge into fear, right? Like, what if this? What if that? What if, and like you're saying, it's all about awareness, right? Being mindful of like what's coming up for you. Like, how are you stepping in your own way of
Yeah,
that dream? And like,
yeah.
are you dreaming big or are you sitting in this space comfortably because you're afraid to dream big?
Yes, absolutely. One of the biggest things for me that has resonated along my journey is there's a woman that inspires me, and she talks about kicking fear in the face. And for so long in my life, I really allowed fear to control me. I allowed it to be the decider of my fate, and I didn't realize I was doing it. But one of the biggest things she said is name your fear, say it out loud, say I'm afraid of this, right? I'm afraid of that. And your dream can be this little thing. Like I had an example of when I was going to the gym, and I still go to the gym, but right now it's virtual. But at my gym they had these for box jumps, the big box, and it's wood, right? And it's very intimidating, and I was afraid of it. And I told myself a story that there's no way that I would ever be able to do that. That's for other people, right? I just can't. And my coaches would say, do it, do it, do it. And I'm like, nope. And this is just an example of a little dream that I dream big, right? Like it doesn't need to be this gigantic thing about how I'm changing my career path and doing whatever. Like this was something to me that was unattainable. So it was a limiting belief that I am not the person who does that, right? So I told myself a story, and I made my thoughts become reality, right? So I didn't, and I didn't even try. And then one day, I went on this journey. I lost some weight, which really helped my mobility and my flexibility and all that kind of stuff. But I finally made sure that no one was watching in the gym, and I went for it. And guess what? I didn't hit it the first time.
But that's
Because
okay.
exactly. And I was like, okay, I was afraid of it, but I didn't really hurt myself too bad. I didn't, whatever. So I'm like, okay. And then I tried it again and I did it. And it was the most amazing thing in the world to me, right? It was just a small thing that a bunch of people had done before, but for me, you would have thought I just invented something, right? It was amazing. And what it did was it took this piece inside of me and it built this confidence, and it allowed me to say, wow, if I can do that, what else could I do? Right. So about a month later, maybe a month and a half later, you can take that box and you can turn it like this. So then it's even higher. And I was like, oh, that might be dreaming too big. Right. So I told myself, you could do this. That was awesome. You kicked butt. You did that. But this might be putting it over the edge. But then I told myself, why not? Just try. Tried it, didn't do it. Tried it again, I did it. And that to me is the simplest example of learning how to dream a little bigger. My first thought was, no, I just do like a step, like an aerobic step kind of thing, because that's too much for me. That's too big for me. I've told myself that story. No one else told it to me. I told myself. And then I learned, okay, if I push myself there, what if I turn it here? I change that perspective. I make it a little harder. Now I'm like, okay, what could I do now? Right. So the possibilities are almost endless, right? It's kind of a neat thing. And it's just the way that I framed my belief system, right? I made that belief system inside my own brain to tell myself that this wasn't something that was attainable. It wasn't something that I could do. So it's just a really small example of learning how to dream big. Another way that I learned how to dream big was, I'm a mom. I have a job. I'm a wife. I kind of got caught up in that. My daughter is 17 now, and about 2.5 years ago, I went on this journey and I lost some weight, and I kind of unlocked this thing inside myself, more so even when I started coaching than for this program. But I unlocked this thing inside myself, and I kind of was like, wow, what do I love to do? I didn't even know. My identity kind of had gotten lost in being a mom, right? To my
Yep,
daughter. And I love that. And it's great. But it's important for us to really think about, what do we want, right? Not just what do we want for our family? What do we want for our kids? What do we want for our spouse? What do we want? It's okay for you to think about that and actively pursue that in your dream.
100%, 100%. And it's so funny that you bring up, you had mentioned, the jumping on the box, right? So like when I first started teacher training to become a yoga teacher, I saw people doing crow and I was like, no way, don't even want to do it. I told myself I didn't want to do it. Told myself I didn't want to do a headstand, a handstand. And by the way, this is not what yoga is about at all. It is so much more doing a headstand or handstand.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like, who cares if you do it?
Right.
But the point of this story is that I told myself I didn't want to, but really I wanted to. I was just afraid that I couldn't do it. So when I was by myself and I tried to do a crow and I tried to do a headstand, and then like I couldn't, but then I could and I did it, it was like, wow, it
Right.
felt amazing, right? Because you just say, well, why not? And you kind of
Exactly.
like kick the fear in the face.
Yes.
So it's important to note that we all have fear.
Yes.
We are all afraid of things.
Mhm.
And getting past that fear and dreaming big is just about kind of shifting your mindset and opening up to that why not,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
And
giving
that
it
goes
a
that
go.
goes to like the idea of growth mindset and having a growth mindset. One of the big things that Carol Dweck talks about in her mindset book is framing yourself to not yet, or like you said, why not? Why not me? Right? We often get in that imposter syndrome of like, well, I don't deserve to do that, or like, why am I qualified to do that? Well, why not? There's other people doing it. Why can't you do it? Right?
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
one else is telling you you can't do that. Or if there is someone who's telling you, don't believe them. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
You,
possibilities are endless.
you have so much power inside of you. It's
Yes,
all about what you believe.
absolutely, absolutely.
So I think we got a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we were kind of talking about what blocks us from dreaming, what blocks
Yeah,
you from dreaming. Do you have anything to add to that? Anything else that really blocks us from dreaming those big dreams?
yeah. I think the limiting beliefs are really it stems from those limiting beliefs, right? And it really what it comes down to is your thoughts, right? Every single day, your thoughts. I'm reading this book right now that it's daily for 40 days, and it talks a little bit about mindset and thoughts, and everything kind of stems back into that mindset. Like you have to actively work towards having a positive mindset. But I think they said something about research shows that we have like about 50,000 thoughts that run through our mind every
Yes,
single day, right?
yes.
That's a lot of thoughts. And they said like it's amazing because like if you think positively, that's amazing. But if you think negatively, it's not amazing because it
Yeah,
it gives you 50,000 reasons to tell yourself why not, right?
yeah.
So it kind of, to me, what blocks us is, again, stories we tell ourselves and thoughts. Your thoughts become your reality, they become your beliefs, and they become your actions.
And that is so true. It's so true. And it's not, it's just the progression of what happens. You have these thoughts, and then it puts you in this mindset, in this feeling, in this place that creates a belief for you. And then you either take action or you don't take action because of that thought, that first thought that you had, and that progression that it takes.
Yep.
So I think we could probably say that the biggest thing that stops you from dreaming big is limiting beliefs.
100%.
And those limiting beliefs stem from so many different places, right? Our thoughts, our experiences, all those things.
Yep.
Um, so for someone who is dreaming
Mhm.
and they think they're dreaming big, but maybe they're not really sure if they are, like,
Mhm.
what would you say? How do you know if you're dreaming big or if you're holding yourself back?
That's a good question, and it's one that I think I'm currently still struggling with, right? Of what is it that is my dream, and also being realistic with balancing life and knowing that you have these other responsibilities to go on. But I would say if what you're doing feels comfortable and it doesn't scare you a little bit, you're not dreaming big enough. I
That's
think
a
that's like your key indicator. If it doesn't scare you a little bit, if it scares you a lot, you're dreaming big, right? But if it doesn't scare you a little, you probably want to push yourself to think a little bit bigger.
I think that's a very good point. If you're
Mhm.
not afraid, then it's not big enough. There's
Yeah. If
more
it doesn't
there.
make your heart race,
There's
if it
more
doesn't excite
there.
you, if it doesn't feel a little bit like, ooh, what if, right?
Yeah. And two, like, I feel like for myself, when we talk about dreaming big, if I find myself saying, well, I can't do this because, or
Mhm.
this wouldn't work because, then I'm not dreaming big enough. I'm not open, like my mind isn't open enough. My heart isn't open enough. It's like you want to use your imagination, right?
Yes.
Imagine,
Yeah.
because there's nothing that's out of your reach. It's
Nope.
just about how big you're willing to dream, and like asking yourself the question, well, if money didn't matter,
Yeah.
or if
Yes.
this wasn't an issue, what would I do? What would I feel? What would my dream be?
Yes.
Like just taking it to that next level and really like, again, with that awareness and that mindfulness, like you said, every single day, just kind of checking in, because your dreams change too, don't they? As you
Absolutely.
change,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So having that continuous check in with your self awareness and mindfulness.
Mhm.
So you've kind of shared a bit about your journey throughout, but is there anything that you would like to share about your journey to dream big? Because that's where this began from. Kim's live
Mhm.
on Facebook about dreaming big and wanting to dream big, and I was like, yes, let's talk about it, because we're all in this journey together.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I did talk a little bit about it as we went throughout, but truly, I actually didn't even know what it was like to dream big. Like I thought like, okay, this is what success looks like. I'm in a marriage. I'm happy. I got through this. But like I've been through a lot of things in my life. And I don't want to bore with all of them, but each step of the way I kind of overcame some things. But now, like I said, when I started helping people, like I found through losing this weight, right? Losing the weight was wonderful, absolutely amazing. But what it did was it unlocked this thing inside of me, right? And I just was like, okay. And I started coaching because my mom wanted to do the plan. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to make you coach my mom. I'm going to coach my mom. And what I didn't realize was that I always knew that I had a heart to help people, but I learned, wow, I have this huge heart to help people. And it gives me this like feeling inside that is just like amazing, right? Like I can't, I wish I could bottle it up and sell it because it's just the best feeling, right? And then I'm like, how else could I help people, right? So like I started to do this coaching and I didn't even realize it. And I'm like, wow, I actually kind of like this. I think I could do this even more. And then throughout it, I was taking your yoga classes and I was like, I love yoga. I want to learn more about, like you said, it's not just about some poses, right? Just like my program's not just about losing some weight, right? It's about changing your inner belief system. And like, yoga is about getting clear with yourself and being in harmony with everything around you and being that beacon of light that positivity that spreads throughout that infects other people instead of grabbing onto others energy, right? So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. And when I start, I mean, your program was a little bit longer because, and which is what drew it to me, right? Because we kind of spread it out a little bit longer. But just like with anything, like I started it, and then before I knew it, all of a sudden I was a yoga teacher, right? It was amazing. And like I remember the very first time that you were like, okay, now you guys get up in front of and teach each other. And I was like, I wrote down like every single word I had to say, right? And I got in my own way there because you were like, you just kind of feel it, you start to get, and now I'm able to do that. But I never would have thought a year later, something came up on my Facebook recently that it was like a year ago that we had started teacher. It's amazing. Like I've been now teaching for, a good amount of time and I love it. And I would have never believed that I could do that. I would have never dreamed I could do that. Right. So that unlocked that. And then I feel this like burn inside of me. And I was like, I want to be a life coach too. Cause like this health coaching thing is a huge part of that, but there's other things, right? Like the mindset and the habits, and they all kind of go together with this dreaming big. If you have a positive mindset, you have to work at it, right? But then you build these habits and you set these goals that get you to these big dreams and these habits that help you stick to it, right? So I'm learning like, okay, well, I did this. Now what's next, right? If I got to this spot, now what do I want to do? What else can I do? How can I do that bigger? How can I think bigger? How can I really truly be the best version of myself and help other people be that too? So I mean, my it's a journey. I'm not done, right? Just like you're not done. You have this thing, you're starting this other thing, and you're just keeping on building and expanding. And it's awesome to watch, right? Cheer each other along the way. That's the best part of it, I think.
It's a beautiful journey for sure.
Yeah.
And it's all about, like that's why it's so important to do that check in, to be aware, to be mindful, like, because maybe you were dreaming big.
Yeah.
And then now, today, you're holding yourself back because you've changed and you've grown
Right.
and you've come to a new place. And so really doing that check-in.
Right.
So what are 3, 4, 5 steps that
Mhm.
you can offer
Yeah.
to those listening and watching with us how to start dreaming big?
Yeah. That's a great question. And I thought about it a little bit because it's it's hard sometimes to really think about, okay, well, where do I start? Like I said in my video, it's like, yes, okay, now what? Right. And I don't just want to like sit and like read 5 books to get there. So one thing that is the biggest thing is really stop and think about, where do you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years? Think about yourself in 5 to 10 years. You can even go farther, right? But get out a piece of paper and say, who do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to be living? What do I want to be doing? What are the things that set my soul on fire, that excite me? That it was like, oh, if money, like you said, if you put these blockers out of your mind, if money was no question, if time was no question, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Right? Writing it actually down on paper is super powerful, right? And then you want to be able to visualize it. So you want to then, like, you don't want to say, I want to do these 75 things and I'm going to dream big on these 75. You want to narrow it down to like 3 to 5 things that are like really your key thing. And if you can handle more, that's great, but you need to visualize it. So like for the first year ever, I have my vision board for here. And this is, my vision board that I did.
Love it.
And, I've talked about vision boards before. I've done a lot of talking about it, but I never actually did it and made it. And then I put it in a place where I look at it every single day, right? And for me, I put the life coach thing in the middle here because that was my biggest dream for this year. And then I made a word of my year, like one word to focus on every day. And my word is action, right? So I say to myself every day, I'm going to do that. So like my first thing I would say is just like, write down your dreams, and you can like think about, where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years, to be able to write them down and then visualize them. Make yourself some kind of visual representation. It doesn't have to be a vision board. It could just be a picture. It could just be the words, right? But visualize and speak out your dream. And that's the other thing, is kind of tied to that, is tell someone. You don't have to shout it out from the rooftops, right? But tell your spouse, tell your friend, tell your mom, tell your whatever, right? Tell someone about it, because putting it out there in word to someone else is another way to kind of manifest it, right?
Yes, so important to get it out of your head.
Yes, out of
Get it
your
out
head,
there
onto
in the world.
paper, into someone else's brain. And it also holds a level of accountability. Okay, now I've said I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to put some action behind it, right? The second thing is, put your filter on. Filter out the negative from your own brain, from other people. Oh, wait, are you sure you want to do that? Oh, I don't know. Are you like, do you really know about that? Because people also are afraid, right? And they don't mean to sometimes, but they hold you back, right? And you have enough to worry about holding yourself back. So filter out the opinions of others, but filter in those positive people, those cheerleaders that are like, that's so awesome. What if you did this too? Oh my gosh, right? Like those people. So put your filter on, right? Filter out the negative, filter in the positive. So that would be my second one. Third one is set goals. So, a dream without a plan is nothing, right? You have to put some goals and action to it. And what you can do is, if you thought about, where do you want to be in 5 years or a year, it's great to have that goal, but like set yourself in 3 months. This is as much as I think I could get to like that goal. Like you can set benchmarks like to get to that goal, and then some daily things to help you do that, right? Because if you don't have these little benchmarks, it won't help you get there. But if you set that too small and you're like, check them off, done, you're not going to push yourself to keep going to the next spot, right? So it's like, set those goals and then evaluate as you go to see, do I need to push it a little harder? Wow, I hit the success faster than I thought. Do I dream bigger? So that's another one. And then
Let me, I
yeah,
want to interrupt real quick and just
yeah,
say,
yeah,
as you're setting goals, if
yeah,
you don't meet your goals, that's not a failure.
absolutely.
sometimes we set goals and we don't reach them, and that's okay. Like the same thing with your dream in general. Like just
Yes.
because you dream big and you didn't reach it in the timeline you wanted to, it doesn't mean you failed. It
No.
just means that you're on the journey to reach that dream, like
Yes.
you are still going to make it happen.
Yes. And
You're
your
just
dream might
learning.
change along the way, right? You
Yes.
might have picked a dream and then you realize along the way it's a little different. So that is really important to do a check-in. And that's one of the things I talk to my clients about too, is they're like, oh, well, I'm just stalled here. And I'm like, hey, look, or I made some bad choices about this. And I'm like, yeah, but those choices that you made just now, think about the choices you would have made 6 months ago. Are they the same? Or is there huge growth there? And they're like, oh my God, you're right. There's huge growth there, right? So that is so important for perspective to not just say, oh, well, I set this thing and I didn't hit every single part of it, or I didn't hit it. So I guess I might as well just give up. No, switch it, change it up, make a new dream.
There you go. 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last thing was action, right? Put it in action, right? Daily action gets daily results. I tell my clients all the time, kind of, sort of gets you kind of, sort of results. It's true in anything that you do. If you kind of, sort of do it, you kind of, sort of get action out of it. So for me personally, what helps is I have a planner in the morning that I work through, and I say, like, who do I need to show up for? What are the top 3 things I want to do to move myself towards these goals? And you know what? Some days I spend 10 minutes on my dreams. Some days I spend 3 hours on my dreams. It depends what you can fit in, and that's okay. You might have a week where you don't get to spend time on it, but you're still thinking about it. You're still resonating with it. You're saying, oh, you're writing down some ideas, some thoughts, whatever. But at your own pace, like you said, be kind to yourself, right? Give yourself the same kindness you would give to someone else, because we're so much nicer to those around us than we are to ourselves.
Yes,
Right?
you are. Yes. Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace to let your dream unfold. Like that's the thing. You create this dream, you imagine it, and this is your dream, and it's a big dream, and it's a beautiful thing. And you've got to give yourself that grace to be on the journey to the dream, because the truth is, reaching the dream is only a moment. It's
Agree.
the journey to get you to that dream that is actually making that shift in your life.
I agree.
It's not getting to the top of Mount Everest. It's the climb up to the top that has totally changed you and your life and transformed you to this place of living that dream you created.
Yes. Yeah. And your dreams are always evolving. Like that's a
Yeah.
really good point. You're not just like, oh, I hit my dream. Yay. Right.
Right.
You have to figure out, what does that look like? Okay. So now how do I maintain this dream? How do I continue to learn and grow as a human, as a person, to be happy, right? Because the ultimate goal is we want to be happy. If we're happy, we're exuding happiness and we're kind of spreading and sharing that around us, right? We want to do what makes us happy. The whole point of dreaming and dreaming big is to get to where you want to be, to fulfill what it is inside you that you're meant to be doing, right? Or
To
feeling.
live to live the life you want to live, to live a life you love,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. That you don't want to break from, right? It feels good. And
Yeah,
there's going to
you don't
be bumps and bruises along the way. This week I had a really rough week, and I had to do some extra work on my mindset, because I kind of was like, oh, I can't do this. So I guess I might as well, every day is a struggle. Just because we are, people who are sharing about this, we don't have it all figured out either, right? We're all figuring it out along the way. And like you said, we have to give ourselves grace and just put one foot in front of the other and say, today I'm going to do better and I'm going to push forward on it, right? And figure out, what does this look like for me now, right? But having a plan, writing it out, visualizing it, being your own filter for negative and positive in the right way are absolute keys. And then daily action in whatever way that looks like for you. Having daily action, it's going to get you where you want to be.
and aligned action, right? Like if you feel like you're taking action but nothing's moving you forward, well
Yeah.
then do that check-in and
Yeah.
say, well, what type of action am I taking? Is it aligned with my dream, or am I just like taking
Just
action?
doing. Yes.
Do
Yes.
it. There's a difference. There's a big difference.
That's a huge point, because I have found myself in that spot. Like, I'm working so hard. Work smarter, not harder, right?
Yes.
I'm working so hard, and I'm like, wait a minute, why am I doing that? That's not what I want. Like, what? Why am I doing that? Right? So
Yeah.
it is so important to just do that self check-in for yourself. Does this make me happy? Does this serve me? Are these habits that I'm doing, do they serve me for the best? for the best life I want.
Yeah. Does it feel good? Like, what does it feel like for you? And it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle.
Right. Right. And if it is, you can get through it and get on the other side.
Absolutely. You can. 100%.
Awesome.
So, thank you, Kim, for being here with us today. And for all of you guys out there who want to connect with Kim more, you can find her on Facebook in her free group, totally free. It's called Unlocked and Empowered, all caps with the end sign. We'll have a link down below the video for you guys to go ahead and connect with Kim. And really, like, if you want to dream big, take a breath, take those steps, check in with yourself. What's holding you back? What beliefs are holding you back? Do that. Well, what if? Like, what if this wasn't there? What if this didn't matter? Open yourself up to really dream a dream that is for you from your heart,
Yeah.
because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful thing. And you can do it. That's your challenge this week, guys. Your challenge to open yourself up and dream a little bigger. Use your imagination, expand your dreams. You don't have to make it come true this week. Just
No,
open up to dream your biggest, wildest dreams, because you are worthy of that dream. So,
absolutely.
thank you, Kim, for being with us today. Everybody have a wonderful day. Lots of love, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.